why not going into an off-nominal situation? And here NASA was asking us at that point in time, can we get some ideas from you? Just give you an example, we have a lot of heaters in that system. And what we said, for example, switch off a couple of heaters. Let's see where we land, where the temperature is getting too cold or too hot.
Hey, SpaceWatchers, this is Space Café Radio, your channel about trends, great people and awesome events. One very exciting day I could spend in Bremen at the Moon Media Day organized by Airbus Defence and Space in early February 2023. My guest for this interview is Matthias Gronowski, the Airbus Chief Engineer for Orion ESM, the European Service Module. We spoke about the learnings from the Artemis 1 mission and the way forward for the next missions. I like to mention that we conducted this interview at the visitor gallery looking into the clean room, which holds for the first time 3 ESM modules in one facility, namely ESM 3, 4 and 5. I'm Thorsten Kriening, publisher of SpaceWatch.Global. Enjoy this conversation. Matthias, thank you very much for your time today. We have been here in Bremen for the Artemis 1 launch in November, and it was super cool to see the excitement of the team and the spirit. So where have you been on this day?
On that day, I was in Kennedy Space Center, and the day after, I was in Houston directly. And I can tell you also on our side in Kennedy Space Center in Florida, it was unbelievable, it was exciting, it was incredible for the entire team over there.
How is this entire feeling after 10 years of work, hard sweat and continuous delays also of this mission?
Yeah, it was tough before launch. It was tough at the day of launch because all of us, we went through the design, we knew our baby, we knew where potentially topics may pop up, or we were expecting, let's say. And at the day of launch, it was really incredible to see, first of all, the launcher working perfectly. And then immediately at that point in time, we all thought, I thought, now it's on us, now it's the spacecraft, and now it needs to work. It was a hard time. It was the night before that launch was not a good night, but it was even better afterwards. So as soon as we all went to Houston and we were sitting in front of the console together with our colleagues from ESA and NASA, we have seen the data, we were really getting into a more relaxed mode because there was not that much alarm than we were expecting before. I can tell you because we have experience from other missions also where basically each and everyone I was talking to who experienced that mission, be prepared that at the very beginning there will be a lot of alarm. There will be the monitor looking like a Christmas tree. It was just before Christmas and I was saying if this happened then let's see how it works. But at the end that was quite good, so there was not that much alarm than we were expecting.
Before we come to the data, which was very interesting for me, is the Artemis 1 mission is history now. What have you learned?
So for us as team who designed the ESM, we have learned now to operate the ESM. That's quite interesting because you build up piece of hardware, piece by piece, you design it, you see that baby growing, and then of course it needs to fly the mission, this particular mission. And our engineering team was really learning out of that mission what could have been done better, where were we perfect and good and all that. And I think that was very important also for the team, and it will be for the future for that particular team also important for future missions to see what can be done from operational perspective, slightly different than maybe the first mission. There will not be that much hardware changes, that's clear, but you can always operate a car or a vehicle like a spacecraft differently. And I think that will happen here and there.
You are contracted by ESA, and ESA works with NASA on this mission. So how could you access these data? Was it really real time? Were you sitting at the console, got data one-to-one and could respond to that? Or what was the line of command?
That's a very good question because years ago, I would not have imagined what I've experienced the last couple of months. So it was really, we were sitting in front of a console and we're looking on the same data NASA was looking on together with our team from ESA. And that was really something I was not expecting. So we have seen real-time data in the Mission Control Center in Houston. We were in a kind of engineering control room that was not directly the flight control room, but we have seen the live data.
So
and
no red button?
No, clearly not. And there's another goodie. We have seen also those data here back in Europe. I don't know if you are aware that ESA was following up the whole mission from ESTEC with a small control center, where we also had team over there in ESTEC and Nordwijk looking onto the same data. So we had a kind of back office support even coming here from Europe. In case we would have seen stressy situations, we could even split a little bit the work between Houston and the ESTEC facility.
Getting the data is one thing you have to analyze and you have to model them. What technologies are you using, if you can talk about it? Are you having digital twins?
Yes. So we have a digital twin, but the digital twin they are different existing, I would say. First of all, you have exactly the digital twin from hardware perspective as the hardware look like. Yeah. Or what you see physically down in the clean room, we have that electronically in our virtual reality, let's say. We can can zoom into bits and pieces. That's basically our hardware design. But important on top of this is we have also digital models running where, for example, the thermal model is telling us how, with the thermal environment we will see out there in space, how our thermal subsystem will behave, for example. Because you put the same environment in this model outside that ESM, and then you see, is the heater starting at the right point in time and heating a specific component, for example, or is the heat we have to take out from some components at the right point in time radiated to the outside world. And the same for fluidic analysis, the same for electrical analysis. So we have a lot of analysis models which were giving us data upfront the mission to predict the mission. So what we did at the very beginning was based on the trajectory we were flying, complete prediction of that mission in terms of be it temperature, propellant flow, electricity generation, whatever was necessary to predict how the vehicle will behave. And
how big was the delta then between prediction and reality?
And that's now the good question, because we are interested in now seeing how good was our prediction compared to the real data. And that's what we're doing now with our partners, with ESA, NASA and Lockheed Martin. We are now getting into all these data we have gathered. A couple of things I can tell you. So for example, we were predicting that our solar array wings in terms of power generation are not that advanced as we saw during the mission. Yeah? So we were producing by far more power. That again has to do with environmental conditions. The solar cell is producing more energy if it's colder outside or warmer outside. So it depends also on the temperature. So here our model was not that good maybe, but it was quite good, let's say on one side. But in a model you have usually certain uncertainties because you don't know 100%. And this uncertainty, that's something which we are now understanding and where we learned from the first mission.
What is the role of AI in your analysis, in your usage? Is it something you use today already?
We start to use that because it's quite important for us. We have gathered a lot of data in the past, doing a lot of testing. So we did functional testing, environmental testing, some here in Bremen, some even back in Europe in other facilities where electronic components or whatever get tested. We went with ESM-1, with Artemis-1, with the first Orion through Plumbrook. That's a huge thermal chamber in the US, for example. And out of this, we gathered a lot of data. And it makes sense, and we are looking into that, to see if kind of failure pattern, if you have in-flight failure patterns, if AI is giving you some indications out of what you have seen already on ground. That's what we are looking into. We're working close together with our team, which is working those AI algorithms. And I think the next missions, the data we are producing will help us really to get closer to learn something from that, yes.
Earlier today in the presentation, I heard you tested it to the extremes. What does it mean?
Yeah, that's also interesting. And NASA was putting a lot of test objectives on the entire vehicle. For NASA, it was a test flight for us as well. But from our side, we said we're not getting that far in terms of the objectives. And at the very beginning of the mission, we realized after 1 week, the hardware is performing well. There is nothing really going on which is making us worried. And then NASA came back and said, can we do something which is going further than the nominal objectives? So getting more into an off-nominal testing. So that's something where you say, usually you would not do it, particularly if you do not have astronauts on board. But better you do it right now because you don't have astronauts on board. Why not going into an off-nominal situation? And here NASA was asking us at that point in time, can we get some ideas from you? Just give you an example. We have a lot of heaters in that system. And what we said, for example, switch off a couple of heaters. Let's see where we land, where the temperature is getting too cold or too hot. And a couple of those things we did with NASA. It was really interesting.
If your clients wants to test it?
The end was, of course, the customers, they wanted to see those tests. And on the other side, we had also an own interest.
Yes.
Yeah, as soon as they switched and turned during the mission, said, now we can get a little further. We said, of course, let's get a little further. Makes sense. That's the only chance you have. A real mission, a test flight, uncrewed. Let's try and do it.
One statement earlier was future missions will be more challenging.
Yeah.
I'm now hearing you tested it already to the extreme. So what is the rationale? So why is that?
First of all, the Orion spacecraft is not designed and built for only one mission. It's designed as a multi-purpose crew vehicle. That was the original name. Means there can be any mission. A mission going to the moon, a mission going to the asteroid, whatever. And from that perspective, there will be more challenging mission coming up. So longer mission even, or maybe missions where NASA is putting in front of, or on top of the Orion spacecraft, additional payload or something like that. So we have heard that there's a gateway infrastructure to be built up around the moon. And from my understanding, Orion will play a crucial role in that. So there will be more demanding missions in the sense that will not only be the spacecraft which has to travel to the moon, it will be a TAC or whatever, a tandem with something else. And of course, we as Orion need to make sure that we can even navigate these more heavier, more bigger, more, complex system than it.
So you built it as a multi-purpose vehicle at the end.
Yes. So we had not only one mission as requirement. Yeah. So at the very beginning, no one was knowing that we fly exactly this Artemis 1 mission. It was said, you build a vehicle which can fly to the station, which can fly to moon, which can fly to an asteroid. We give you an envelope. And that was what we got. And basically that's what we built. Yeah.
Based on your learning, the ESM2 is in Cape Canaveral already about to be integrated or in the integration process. So is there anything you can do at that stage based on the learnings from A1 for the next one?
Of course. As I said, we have learned now from the Artemis 1 mission, and we will still learn from the data we gathered. Where from my perspective, we will see a couple of operational changes. So things, as I mentioned earlier, how we will fly in future. So these are very simple aspects. Will we have to tilt the solar arrow wings always to sun, or is it sufficient enough only have two tilt to sun? Things like that. So that's the only topic I see which we will potentially implement for Artemis 2. This is just coming how to operate. It will not change anything on the hardware as is. Hardware is integrated, hardware is tested, and I don't see that we will have a hardware upgrade prior to launch.
The minor difference, suddenly humans are on board.
And that's the important thing. Even if this is the minor difference, also Artemis 1, the ESM1 was built for a human-rated spacecraft, except for a couple of things we have not flown directly. There was no water in the water tanks, for example. But in principle, it's exactly the same. For us, the first mission was like a human-rated mission. And the second will be, we're flying humans. And that's exciting.
What are the challenges from today's point for the ESM 326? Let's put the contracted one into because the missions are defined, what to do with it. So as we start today, the serial production, so it sounds done. No big challenges any further.
Yeah.
So, is that too naive?
Yes and no. I would say on the no side, there are a couple of things. Usually NASA is really on the way to see what the hardware is capable of doing. So they are tweaking further. They are increasing basically the demand, and that brings us to some small implementations which we need to do because there are some more performance, more efficiency necessary in the whole mission. But in general, we are building one ESM now like the other. So there's, from the architecture point of view, from the implementation point of view, no real change, no.
Moon, Mars, doesn't matter. We just go there.
At least moon, yes.
Let's spend a few minutes on the future mission. What does the immediate future hold up for you?
So the immediate future is Artemis 2 mission, planned for 2024. That's what we are preparing currently, and I think we are good on track, at least from our elements, from our components, ESM. And then the next is to make sure that we deliver this year Artemis 3 to Kennedy Space Center for further testing, further integration, and to get the next contract in place with our customer. That's important because we want to build more than 6.
Matthias, thank you very much for your time. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
If you have further questions, reach out to us at radio@spacewatchers.com. at SpaceWatch.Global. If you like these or other episodes of Space Café Radio, leave us a rating on your preferred podcast platform. It is the currency of today. And if you want to stay on the pulse of the space industry, please visit our website at www.SpaceWatch.Global and subscribe to our newsletters. And of course, don't forget to become a Space Watcher. I'm Thorsten Kriening, publisher at SpaceWatch.Global, your independent perspective on space.